Hello, Simon Rainier, Lynx Armazzare out of Campbell River, British Columbia. This is my buckler. A buckler, in case you're unaware, is a super handy, tiny little shield. Most people, upon first seeing a buckler, would probably disagree with the super useful part. I think it's kind of a useless, tiny little thing, not really great for much. Once upon a time, there were a whole bunch of reviews on the Amazon site for the Cold Steel buckler that was talking about how tiny and useless it is, and what the heck, this isn't a buckler. Yeah, it is. Buckler is generally a center-gripped shield, not as Dungeons and Dragons would have you believe, a thing that actually like straps to your arm. That's what armor is for. And they are, historically speaking, an incredibly popular shield design. The Roman gladiators had something kind of like this. Right up to the 19th century in places like India and Afghanistan, they were still using shields that were basically the same sort of thing. Our very earliest Heba manuscript, MS 1.33 or I-33 or 133 or 1.33 or however you want to say it, describes fighting with the arming sword and buckler. I think Fiore even mentions the buckler, basically to say, we don't do that here. I could be wrong about that, though. Anyway, at the absolute sort of like most obvious level, it can be used to cover your hand for all kinds of crazy extended positions, because, as we always talk about, anytime you have your sword out, your hand is horrendously vulnerable, and you kind of have to have your sword out to attack. It's just kind of how, swords work. At sort of another stage, like even just like extending it out fully, it hides a decent chunk of my body, basically my entire torso. And it's small and light. I can whip it around easily, move it around. So yeah, it's useful. It was popular for somewhere in the range of 2,000 years, basically continuously. It had to be effective. Now, larger shields are more effective. This is easier to carry with you. You can have this with you anywhere, with the possible exception of Elizabethan London, where it was illegal to carry a sword and buckler at the same time, for basically the same reason it's illegal to carry things like switchblades where I am. It's basically assumed that if you had a sword and buckler, you were out for, to cause trouble. And so they didn't want you to do that, so they outlawed bucklers. I don't think it worked very well. But anyway, which brings us around to sort of the grand point of this particular video. How do we carry this thing? And I've seen all kinds of cool arrangements with like shoulder straps, having it like a little like satchel or purse or however you want to describe it. But a common one that I keep seeing is that you take a little loop and loop it over the hilt of your sword. But I don't think that's necessarily accurate. I'm sure people did do this, because it is kind of okay. But there's a better option, which is similar. First off, like, disadvantages of this is it does provide a little bit more sort of like downward pressure. It makes my sword stick out behind me more, which means as I'm turning around, I'm more likely to hit things. And I don't really like that, because swords are actually kind of uncomfortable to wear on their own. We don't need to do anything to make them more uncomfortable. Arming swords, by the way, are probably the most comfortable. The second thing, swords being sidearms, being things if you need them, chances are you need to get to them quickly. This slows me down. I could pull out a sword like this, but having a buckler dangling off my sword while I'm trying to fight with it, not a great idea. It gets extra complicated when we start dealing with things like complex hilted swords. You can't really do it anymore. Kind of. That's bad. No. There is, however, a similar, albeit slightly better option, in my opinion. First off, you could also have like a secondary hook or something you can hang it off of, and I've actually done that at like SCA events. I've had a little buckler hook for specifically when I don't actually have a scabbard. So you take your sword out, you put it around the scabbard, then you put your sword away. This has the advantage of I can get to my sword quickly. It's natural to drop your hand down to your scabbard to pull your sword, and then there's just a little loop to get that. Nice for quick drawing, if you will. If I decide that I don't have time to get to my buckler, even in that situation, I don't need it. It's there. It's not going anywhere. Might fall off, but whatever. So, this is how I submit you should be wearing your bucklers. Get a loop, put it over your scabbard, sword then follows into the scabbard. I can't really think of a situation where you would need to like just get the buckler out, which would be the only real downside to doing this that I can personally think of. If you have other ideas, please share. The other thing is, we know the term swashbuckler, right? That is apparently comes from the sound of like, does that sound like swash to you? I don't know. Apparently it comes from the sound of bucklers hanging from like sword attachments and making a swash sound as they fought. I've never really liked that explanation of where swashbuckler came from. It seems a little too cute to me, but until I hear something else, I'm willing to, at the very least, go along with it. So yeah, works really well with your arming sword type. When you have a more complex hilted sword, works as well. The thing I like about the scabbard, by the way, is it actually has like a belt hook. More sword makers need to include ways we can wear our swords. Honestly, first, more sword makers need to include scabbards, because I don't like bare blades. Secondly, they need to include like some way of attaching it to a belt. That would be nice. Anyway, same sort of deal. On there, wearing my sword about town. Does that make a swash? Is that a swash sound? Does that sound like swash to you? Swash. I can see it. Draw the sword out as I need it. If I need to go for my buckler, it's there. Scabbard fell off too, which is kind of a bonus because that means it's not going to trip me as I'm trying to sword fight someone. So yeah, bucklers, super cool shields. Keep your hands safe, keep most of your body safe, and convenient to wear about town. Just, you know, don't actually go out causing trouble, because then you'll give a bad name to the rest of us, and it will be again illegal. So yeah,